Hello again, Gooners. If you wonder what my hands are doing, that is a clapperboard. I did have a clapperboard, but I sold it. Not really, but if I were Arsenal, that's what I would do. I would get my assets and then strip down the club. That's what's going on, and that's why you haven't been hearing from me much lately. One, been really busy. Two, the club. Well, I've seen quite a few games, and I don't think I've missed very many. I've missed a large chunk of the Southampton game, and quite honestly, I'm glad I missed it. I'm going to play catch up with that. Um, what can you say? It's just been so disappointing, and I don't want to sit here and disappoint you. So the only reason I came back really is Hugh Wizzy. Thanks for that, dragging me out of sort of semi-retirement. So I'm back here just chatting about Arsenal. The last game, obviously disappointing defeat against Manchester City, but it was a dot on the cards. We all knew it was going to happen. So Kel Supri, as Arsene Wenger might say, we lost it, and well, it was bound to happen when you don't invest in a team that's not doing very well in the league, not doing terribly, but obviously for a club of our stature, we need to be pushing for top four all the time, and well, it's not out of the question. I'm not going to say we're not going to finish in the top four. I predicted at the start of the season we would finish third. Well, it looks a tall order, doesn't it, at the moment? Fourth is still very, very much possible. I'm not convinced that Tottenham are as good as everyone's cracking them up to be. Don't think that they're that bad either, but I don't know that they've improved under AVB. I don't think they've got worse either, whereas you could argue quite strongly that we have got worse. We've brought in players to take Robin Van Persie's place, but when you're losing the top goal scorer in the league, you do have to think about replacing that player. That's about as far as we've got. Thinking about it, doing something about it is something that the club are not prepared to do because it costs money. So I've been tweeting like crazy today, just saying, why don't we loan out players to improve our fortunes? When I say fortunes, I'm talking obviously financial fortunes, because the club are seemingly focused on that and that alone, and the success on the pitch is neither here nor there for them. That's how it appears as an outsider looking in. Obviously, there's been a lot of things going on at the club. The debacle at Bradford. I don't know what I can say about that. These are the kind of games that kind of almost leave me speechless, even me, and that's saying something. Because as you may know, those of you that have dropped by a few times will know that I'm very chatty. Anyway, I'm going to read some of this because Hugh Wizzy said, why don't you do a bit of the Arsenal Jackanori, or Arsenalory, I might call it. I don't know, would it get me views? If I'm not getting views, I'll think, what's the point? I'm making myself miserable in a way talking about it, or am I? Maybe this is cathartic. I don't know. Anyway, let's go back to chapter one. Let's get back to basics. That's what this club needs to do. But one of the basics is, if you've got a problem, address it. And as I said, I'm not going to go on about it, but we're not addressing problems. But anyway, I'll just get on and read, and then I'll just cut it short, and then that'll be the end of this particular podcast. And I'll try and make it weekly if I can, but as I said, I've been really ultra busy, so no excuses, honestly. We don't understand excuses at Arsenal, do we? That's all we get, but there you go. Right, chapter one, then and now. Raise a glass to David Danskin. Without him, there would be no Arsenal Football Club. By the way, this is by Steve Stammers, the ex-Evening Standard journalist. As the Arsenal players of today drive through the electronic gates at the club's state-of-art training centre at London Colney and park their Porsches and so on, it's dragging on a bit, we might want to raise a glass of mineral water to David Danskin. He continues to go on about how things are different now to the way they were, and obviously it all began 1st of December 1886 at the Royal Oak Public House in Woolwich. And Arsene Wenger had something to say about that. I'm not enjoying this much, so I'm going to jump the chapter. I've got a funny feeling I've already covered that chapter as well. So let's go to chapter 2, when the club moves from South London to Highbury. And then we're talking about Henry Norris, ruthless, ambitious, and chairman of Arsenal Football Club. Well, wouldn't we like him back? It is easy to think that football, with its universal appeal and its grip on the working classes, was always as it is now. Steve always does this, doesn't he? Comparing now to back then, but I suppose it's good journalistic practice. But nothing could be further from the truth. Back in 1886, for example, there was no need for crossbars. Players in the team were not required to wear the same shirts, and apart from a halfway line, there were no markings on the pitch. Well, that would be tricky, wouldn't it? It was also the first year of professionalism in England, a development that met with fierce opposition from Scotland, who went as far as to ban their players from having any connection with the clubs on the other side of Hadrian's Wall. Indeed, during an England-Scotland game in Glasgow that year, James Forrest, a professional with Blackburn, the dominant force of the time, was forced to wear a different coloured shirt from the rest of the England players to make it clear he wasn't an amateur. How bizarre is that? Imagine one of our players wearing a different coloured shirt. I think I know which player I would pick on for that, but his second half performance would make him, or would allow him to wear the same colour red as the rest. That player being, of course, Diaby. What an awful first half he had today, I thought. He did pick up his game in the second half, so I'm glad about that, but he couldn't have got much worse. Anyway, this was the definitive era of Victoriana, with the empire expanding. The Irish question, which was to bedevil English governments for the next century, was nearing its peak. Not quite sure what that's got to do with Arsenal, but it's always nice to have a bit of historical context. Woolwich was a key area for the military, and the work on offer encouraged migration to South East London from all around the country, and shouldn't it be all around, but maybe I'm getting technical, and fatefully, where Arsenal were concerned, from Scotland. But at the end of their first season, Royal Arsenal had lost only 2 of 10 matches. The fuse had been lit. Progress was impressive. So impressive that within 7 years the club had become members of the Football League. They'd earned their status with some shrewd management off the pitch. We'd love a bit of shrewd management, wouldn't we? And relative success on it. They were semi-finalists in the London Senior Cup in 1889, beaten by Clapton 2-0, and the following season pulled off an impressive treble: the Kent Senior Cup, the Kent Junior Cup, and the London Charity Cup. Could somebody tell me what is a cup? I'm starting to forget. Sorry about that. It's not really a good gag, is it? It's black humour, I think you might say. In what was an all-amateur sport in London, Arsenal had the advantage of offering jobs at the munitions factory to players they wanted to add to their team. It was also not unknown for the management at the factory to buy footballing soldiers out of the army and install them in a job in the munitions works. Well, we've tried that kind of thing with Chewy. Remember Chewy? Chew Young Park. Well, we kind of got him out of the army, didn't we, rather than taking him out? But was it worth it? I'd say not. Anyway, next part is about the arrival of professionalism at the club. Maybe I'll see how this section goes rather than read the whole thing out, because it's going to take me forever. So I've got as far as page 24. If you want to hear more, make sure you get loads of people to like this, because if they don't like it, I'm not going to bother, because I feel like Arsene Wenger. I think, why should I bother? Nobody takes me seriously anymore. I don't know why. Is it because I have this outrageous French accent like Clouseau? I am one of those people who knows everything, and I don't like this Stuart Houston guy. He's very bitter. But no, that's unfair to Arsene. Arsene was very diplomatic after the game. He didn't blame the referee for what happened. Hopefully he's seen the light. Hopefully he realises we need to buy players, not for the sake of buying, but because this squad isn't strong enough. This squad, even the first 11, isn't necessarily strong enough. Certainly not strong enough to compete with Manchester City and Manchester United. It's probably strong enough to give Chelsea a game, and probably strong enough to finish top 4. But at the moment we're struggling, and something's got to be done. See, I'm even struggling to read this book, and I love this book. So Arsene, please sort it out, because a lot of us are getting to the point now where it's not that we've completely lost belief in you, but we're wondering what the hell is going on. So I'd like to leave it on a high note, so I'll go, ah, and see you next time.